Boys.
Hi, fellas.
Oh, we're
Cap,
back.
Cappy, welcome back.
Thank you. It's nice to be back. Nice to be on the northern half of the globe.
How was it?
It was beautiful. It's 80. It's a high of 81 and a low of 79 pretty much every day.
Hmm, must be nice.
It was pretty nice. I mean, pretty sunny most of the time. Really, really windy the first couple of days, but it wasn't bad either. And missed a little hockey. Obviously, it's not hockey weather when you're in that kind of climate, but I was able to watch a little bit thanks to the new app that's worldwide. That was
Yeah,
kind of nice to be able to watch. I actually watched a replay of game two on the airplane at like 2 o'clock in the morning, flying on the red eye from Cook Islands back to Hawaii. So that was kind of nice too.
How many
Right
hours
on.
behind was it?
Four.
Hmm.
Oh, so you probably still feel like it's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon right
Yeah,
now.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready
Yeah.
to.
Say it's
It's
about
it's dinner time.
9:15 now.
Yeah, it's dinner time.
Jesus. Yeah, you missed a couple of pretty interesting games. I mean, the first game was a much closer game, but the second game was it really, I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah,
Like
Uh,
I
Complete
ugly.
dominance followed by
complete meltdown.
meltdown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be having that kind of stuff happen. We're just lucky, really
Really
lucky that we
fortunate.
had a 6-0 lead.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
They
they
needed every
just
bit of it.
completely fell apart. But we'll start with game one. A lot of hype going into the first round against Vancouver. Guys came out, give up the first goal early on the power play to Jaden Lipinski for Vancouver, but got one back early in the second period, and then it was pretty much all Chiefs after that. I felt like it was like kind of an ugly first period in terms of like the turnovers and like how it was just sloppy. They get a lot of shots on net, but they weren't really any dangerous chances by any means. I definitely think Vancouver was the better overall team in the first period. We doubled their shots on goal, but I think they played kind of a better period overall.
I agree with that. I mean,
Has
Cowan. I think Cowan kind of kept it close.
Yeah.
Yeah,
has this not been an issue for a while though? I mean, I feel like for the last month or so, we've had really bad first period, or not bad first periods, but just sluggish.
Yeah.
yeah.
Home, away, doesn't really matter. They just come out a little slow, look a little like it just takes them a while to get their legs.
Yeah, I
So
don't know. You see the stat sheet and you see that we put up 18 shots to their eight the first period. You'd think that we'd be, you know, up by 2, 3 goals or whatever, but
yeah,
that just wasn't the case. And the first goal that Vancouver scored was on the power play. It was just a perfect play. There's nothing that any of us could really do about it. But Cowan, like you said, kind of kept us in it in that first
Yeah.
period, and which is a good sign that he's playing that way right now
Yeah.
too. Because the last game he played in the regular season, the against Seattle, it was pretty shaky. So it's nice to see that he's able to kind of bounce back from that in a his well, not his first playoff game, but his first meaningful playoff game on a competitive team.
Yeah.
So, but it was again good to see us answer back early in the second period. Sam Oremba and Rasmus Ekstrom and Sarkinov getting that line going
What a
again.
great play.
that line
Be
was so good, game one.
Dude,
Oh,
they dominated the play.
Yeah.
If
yeah,
it wasn't for that line, we would have lost that game for sure.
yep,
Yeah.
for sure.
No doubt. It's a really nice little 2-on-1 there with Ekstrom and Oremba too. So it's nice to see Oremba bringing his postseason experience to the Chiefs early and kind of getting everybody where they need to be and leading by example there too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, so the second period, you look at the shots, it's more even. Vancouver actually outshot us 12-10 in that second period, but the Chiefs put up the only 2 goals of the period. Second goal came on a simple wrister from the point from Nathan Mays. It was tipped in front by Sarkinov.
Sarky.
Again, that line, I mean, just doing the right things and doing what you need to be doing in the postseason. Gives the Chiefs their first lead of the playoffs, and it just I can't say enough good things about that second line.
I watched the highlights of it today because Victory now does it like a post game highlight thing. That's about 7 to 10 minutes long too. I can't believe how many times they mentioned and talked about that second line in the highlights too. Even when that line didn't score, the whoever does that for the WHL or whatever to and the announcers and everything, they pick clips of that line specifically just in their play,
Hmm.
even when they didn't score.
Yeah, and I believe the highlight packages are the home team's broadcasters as well. So the fact that it was Vancouver's broadcasters
Yeah,
pumping the second line's tires in that I watched that same highlight package earlier today, and yeah, it's really cool to see their their broadcasters. I mean, if you look at the average WHL broadcaster, they're all
Bird
homers.
gang.
Did they score again?
Yeah,
yeah,
5-3
Oh man.
Seattle.
But yeah, they're all homers for the team because they travel with them on the bus. They're
exactly.
always with players and everything. So they're all big time homers. And so it's really cool to see them get their flowers from those broadcasters. And if you go back to game, or if you go forward to game two, uh, before the third period, the Vancouver broadcasters were also like every time the Chiefs scored, they were just like, "Yep, that's just a great play. What we can't say enough about this." They're basically just like, "Yeah, they're kicking our ass."
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Yeah, they were
then
talking
the
a
third
lot
period happened.
about yeah, they were talking a lot
So,
about Preston, getting
mm,
his first career hat trick in that second game. They were talking a lot about him, and it's like, that's why he's projected to be one of the top three guys going in the NHL draft next year and everything too. And they, they're some of the announcers that I actually don't mind listening to,
yeah.
as well as like, Regan
Regan
Bartel
Bartel
and
and John Keane.
yeah,
yeah,
a
they're pretty
couple
good.
Yeah,
of those guys, but yeah, no, I like when they acknowledge the skill of the other team as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was cool. So Chiefs take a 2-1 lead going into the second intermission. Early in the third period, about 6.5 in, Andrew Crystal gets the insurance goal, his first of the postseason, 50th of the season overall. Assisted by Berkeley Catton and Shea Van Olm. So nice getting a little bit of insurance there. The Chiefs really didn't look back from there. Once again, pretty dominant third period out shooting Vancouver 16-6. Andrew Crystal would finish off with an empty netter, assisted by Dawson Cowan, gets his
Dawson
first
Cowan. Yeah,
playoff point there too. So with that, the Chiefs pick up their first postseason win in quite a long time.
it's been a while.
Uh,
2019.
2019.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the 2019
yeah.
playoffs was the last
I
time we.
was I was still in the Navy.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that was the 18-19 season. That was
yeah.
Jad's last year with us.
That surprise run to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah,
Who
Hmm.
ironically were knocked out by Vancouver.
Yep.
But it's really good to get that win. I'm sure I really wanted to go in and win that first game because I feel like if we had fallen in that first game, I feel like that would have been a huge mental barrier for a lot of the guys, especially the guys that were on the team last year too.
yeah.
Yeah, especially with the arena scheduling being so weird and us having to start on the road as the higher seed.
Yeah,
Uh, just the vibes were really off with that,
I agree.
but thankfully, due to Vancouver, I don't want to throw too much shade, but I guess they don't have fans because
Yeah, dude,
it was
what's
a
up with that?
Friday and there was no one there. So, and same thing on Sunday, but um, so I mean, it didn't really feel like a hostile environment because
Mm-mm.
even when they scored their first goal, there was so few people in there that it never really felt that loud, or maybe the crowd
Mm-mm.
mic wasn't that high, but like they kept showing the crowd. It's just
It's
nobody.
just so many empty seats.
Yeah.
It looked
So
like a Wednesday night crowd when the Chiefs were, last place in the West.
yeah.
Like 2,800 people or whatever. But I was looking at you said there was like 5,300 seats in that arena.
Yeah, I looked it up. The Langley Event Center is about, it's about a 5,300 capacity for hockey, so just about exactly half of what we can hold. So, obviously we have a bigger arena, we can fill it out a little bit better, but for the fact that it's Canada, I
Yeah.
mean, like here in Spokane, I mean, I like to think we're a hockey town, but that's Canada, and there's just nobody there. It's
Yeah.
so odd, so
Well,
odd.
looking at the attendance numbers for both games, on Sunday there was only 6 more people in attendance than there was on Friday.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
So
Yeah.
3,015 on Friday and 3,021 on Sunday. I don't know. Vancouver's not a bad team either. And that's the other
Yeah.
thing. It's like, but I was telling you yesterday, I was looking up why Vancouver had left playing in Vancouver in like the late 2000s. I think it was like 2009, 2010, something like that. They used to play at the Pacific Coliseum in Vancouver, but they were forced to move to Langley due to poor attendance numbers. Even though they had, pretty decent teams throughout that time, and
Hmm.
it seems like that's just something that kind of plagues that franchise for whatever reason.
And it's strange too because if you look at Vancouver, BC, just from a or just that greater area from a like an economic standpoint, it's a very, very expensive place to live.
Oh yeah,
And so you would think that for families, I mean, WHL hockey is relatively cheap entertainment. I don't know how much their tickets cost, but you would think that they would sell pretty well because, I mean, I mean, they don't, but cheap
yeah,
family entertainment for a population that probably struggles to not, I'm generalizing here, but it's very expensive is my point. And so you would think that a WHL team would actually succeed because of, affordable, really competitive
yeah.
hockey in a
Yeah.
country where hockey is everything to them.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. It's just very odd. So it never really felt like there was a home ice advantage for Vancouver. Just never really did.
No, it doesn't. And now, the Chiefs come back with a 2-0 lead, and we have two, potentially three straight games at home too with,
Yeah.
and we have the second best attendance in the entire Western Hockey League.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna obviously it's a Wednesday and a Thursday, so you don't really know how the crowd's gonna be necessarily. I would say we'll get at least about 4,000 in there at least.
Yeah.
And then, if there's a game five, it'll be on Saturday. I'm sure the crowd will be, bigger for that. It'll be double that, if not more. So, especially with the team playing well, the attendance numbers have been bumped up a ton this year as opposed to the last few years too, which is going to be huge. And I'm excited to see kind of the atmosphere, just like the vibe in the arena, even, games tomorrow and Thursday.
Yeah, and the Chiefs seem to be advertising very well. I've
Hmm.
seen countless billboards around town.
Me
Um,
too.
I've seen commercials. I've heard radio hits. I've seen stuff in the newspaper,
Hmm.
um, spokesman review, or everything. They seem to be advertising very well. So I can't guarantee or say that Wednesday or Thursday will be great crowds, but hopefully it'll because of playoffs, it'll be better than the average middle of the week crowd. Hell,
Yeah.
I'll be there, and I'm never at middle of the week games because I got kids. So
Yep.
we'll be sitting right next to you guys with a baby, and that's going to
Let's
be an
go.
adventure. That's going to be an adventure at 7 p.m. But
Let's go. I'm excited, dude. I'm so
yeah,
stoked. It's been a long time since I've watched a competitive playoff game in person, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It's been about 5, 6 years. So
hmm
I'm definitely ready for that. A
Me too.
couple more notes on that first game. I thought it was a really, really good officiated game. Really, really well officiated.
Hmm.
One penalty on each team.
Hmm.
Vancouver was 1 for 1 in their power play. We were 0 for 1, but we had some chances. Again, it's just nice to see that they put their whistles away and were kind of, letting the boys play and figure it out for themselves out there. There wasn't really any, obviously there's some hard hits and stuff too that, the energy kind of gets bumped up in the playoffs, but it's nice to see them not really calling the chintzy stuff. Um, mhm. Other than that, let's carry on to game two on Sunday afternoon. If we have to, we can talk about the first two
I have,
periods.
I have thoughts. I've been looking forward to this.
Dude, oh man. Well, the Chiefs get
Uh,
Chiefs get it started late in the first period. Kind of a shot thrown from the point by Chase Harrington just at the net. Mathis Preston tips it in for his first career playoff goal. Um, a late first period goal, kind of a nice little boost going into the locker room. Chiefs outshot Vancouver 16-10 in the first period. Again, I felt like the first period was, the energy wasn't as high as it, needs to be.
yeah.
But getting that late goal, I think definitely kind of helped boost that up a little bit because I mean, the second period was one of the most dominant periods I've seen us play all year. I mean, starting out 30 seconds in, Mathis Preston coming out and just sniping one short side on Jesus, what's the goalie's name? Burke Hood,
Yeah.
and getting his second of the night, second goal of the playoffs. And then 2 minutes later, Shea Van Olm gets his first playoff goal and that's his 50th overall in
Yeah,
the
of the
season
year
as
too.
well.
Yeah.
So the Chiefs got a quick 3-0 lead 2 minutes into the second period, which is huge in the playoffs, and then they just kind of kept at it. 3.5 minutes later, Mathis Preston once again with a snipe from between the circles and gets his first career hat trick, first career playoff hat trick. So huge for him. I think he had a hell of a second period, and nice to see the secondary scoring coming through too. That's a big key that I think that we're gonna have to rely on down the stretch because these top lines and these other teams that are gonna be playing are gonna be really hard and physical on Crystal and Catton and Ulmer and those guys. So we're really gonna need that secondary scoring to come through with Ekstrom's line or Preston's line. What were your guys' kind of overall thoughts watching that second period and kind of watching that Preston line do it work its magic in the first 10 minutes?
Man, I was riding high. I was just as guilty of the players, I guess, going into the third period of being like, all right, boys, pack it up. Let's get home healthy.
Hmm.
Because it looked like whatever they did, Vancouver just had absolutely no answer for it.
Hmm.
And it was kind of strange in that, and I mean, we scored 5 goals in that second period, and then they countered back with 5 goals of their own in the third. So the roles almost completely reversed where not I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but it was like in the second period, they had no answer for anything we did. And then in the third period, we had no answer for anything they did. And but man, I mean, that second period was some of the most dominant, impressive hockey I've seen at this level in like top to bottom. And you touched on the secondary scoring coming into this series and the playoffs in general. I was really worried about that because leading up to the playoffs, as the intensity started to increase in the regular season, as teams were like, okay, we got to get in playoff mode, we got to start being more physical, playing a little bit harder. The top line was having a difficult time uh, getting
Hmm.
things going because they were just getting checked and they were that intensity had increased. So it was like, man, I really hope we're not going to be a boom or bust offense where if the top line can't get anything going, we're just stuck. And thankfully, in both games, the second and third lines really, really stepped up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that.
Um, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I was just kind of Elliot kind of touched on it too, that that second game it wasn't the Ekstrom line so much. It was Preston's line and everything too. And so it's like here you're adding, like you said, the third line, you're adding another line now that's doing secondary scoring. And now you got three lines that are looking pretty potent right now after a game and a half, let's say, and stuff too. So I was very impressed with that too. Like
mhm.
everybody's kind of following along and doing what they need to do and to be successful. So that was impressive to me too. It wasn't okay. The extra line in game one pretty much dominated that game. Now in game two, it wasn't Catton's line. It wasn't, it was pretty spread out. And that was nice to see. And like you said, they had no answer. I feel like we got a lot of very fortunate hockey god bounces that period too. A lot of it wasn't necessarily clean stuff. Things, tips, deflections, things like that. Loose pucks just sitting there to knock in and stuff too. We just got all the bounces, made our own luck.
Yep, without a doubt.
Yep.
And we were
Can we
talking
can
about what?
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, can we talk about the boards behind the nets in
Oh my
Vancouver?
God, dude, those are so bouncy.
Yeah,
What's
What?
with
those are
that?
lively.
Yeah. And we don't have to touch on the
Oh, the
for whatever
goalposts.
reason their ice forms a hole or covers the hole every time the net comes off. I don't know. Never seen that before
That's
to that
worse than Tri
extent.
Cities ice.
Dude, it was every time the
It
net
was
came off, they had
brutal.
to send a guy out with a drill. Anyway,
Like watching a game at Eagles because like they just
Yes.
have like those little tiny little like magnets in there that hold it in at Eagles, and it's
hmm
just like it. It's honestly that's exactly what it reminded me of, which is crazy because that looks like a really really nice building too.
yeah.
So You're talking about the second and third lines doing their thing. The fourth line gets in on the action
Yeah.
30 seconds after Matheus Preston's hat trick goal. Cam Parr getting his first career playoff goal, assisted by Brody Gillespie, who gets his first playoff point in the WHL. So nice to see that. 5-0 Chiefs at this point, and that would be how it stayed through the rest of the second period. Just an utterly dominant period by the Chiefs, outshooting Vancouver 33-8 in the second period alone.
When's the last
Uh,
time we had 33 shots in a period? I
I
don't, I
Oh
can't
man,
couldn't tell
remember.
you.
you're
I
you're
couldn't
lucky
tell
to
you.
get. My wife said this. You're lucky to get 33 shots in a game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Like,
When I saw that score bug pop up and saw 33 shots, I was mind blown.
yeah.
It's just, and it's not like they were, I mean, yeah, they were throwing pucks on net left and right, but it's like they scored 5 goals too. So
Hmm.
like they're good shots. Just insane. I think that's got to be a record, close to a record at least, if it's not a broken record of most
Hmm.
shots in a period, because that's pretty impressive stuff. And yeah,
At
like
least
you,
playoff wise, because you don't see teams giving that many shots up in a playoff period either.
yeah, no kidding. So yeah, 5-0 lead, second intermission. What are we thinking?
I already, I already said what I was thinking.
I'm guilty of it too.
Yeah. I was like, hey
Uh,
boys, like I even remember texting you and being like, hey, like after Olmer took that goalie paddle to the face, I was like, hey,
yeah.
let's just, maybe he can sit or
Hmm.
whatever.
Yes.
Like let's just get out of here healthy up 2-0 and get ready for game three. And then I'll let you take it.
T-Birds just take a 6-3 lead.
Yes, they did.
Yep. And
Let's
Victoria is
go.
gonna go up 3-0 on Tri-City. So they're probably done.
I'm actually a little bit surprised by that Victoria Tracy. I feel like I feel like a lot of the games so far with them have been not super close either.
No,
Yeah.
Victoria's kind of on a little roll the last couple of weeks.
They
After we
got
after
they
we
got
played them,
red
they
hot.
got yeah. After we played them, they
Yeah.
got really hot.
And Portland just scored an empty netter, so they're going to take a 2-1 lead over PG. So,
I feel like some pressure's falling down on the surfer tips right now.
Oh, dude, I love this. This is exactly how I
oh
envisioned
man.
this.
It's Yep.
I just hope they don't pull a
So,
game two Spokane Chiefs third period and collapse. I'm just gonna say the first thing I'm gonna say about this third period is thank God Berkeley Catton gets his first career WHL playoff goal 40 seconds into the third period. Just kind of a
who
simple
would have
shot,
thought
throw it
that
on
was the game
net.
winner?
I know,
Oh.
I know. A simple shot, throw it on net. Not really anything really to shoot at, no room or really anything. It just happened to squeak through the
Hmm.
goalie's pads and was in. So, really good to see him scoring too, because I feel like he's been in a little bit of a slump over the last couple of weeks, ending the regular season. So it's not. I'm hoping that that'll kind of open up his confidence a little bit more too, knowing that even though they got these guys throwing heavy hits on you left and right now, especially in the playoffs, that he's still that guy that can put the puck in the back of the net. I think that was his 39th overall in the season.
Hmm.
So yeah, thank God for that, because after that it was a complete utter meltdown.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it a couple times from these guys this year. That final home regular season game against Seattle was kind of like that. Um, but I think this was way worse, especially after that second period that we saw them play. I mean, who would have thought that Vancouver would come out and just one after another just keep battling their way back into it, and the Chiefs just sat there and let it happen. I mean, that's just
Yeah, they
something
were
that can't
all
happen in the playoffs.
yeah, it looked like everybody just they just gave up.
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
they everybody was flat-footed and they were just leaving Cowan out to dry. And I mean, I think a couple of those goals he really should have probably have stopped them.
Yeah.
But I mean, still, like they looked disinterested, they looked lazy. I mean, once they have the lead, Vancouver, that's when Lauer called the timeout and gave him the proper ass chewing. And, it seemed like that refocused them for a couple minutes and then they went right back to it. just letting
Yeah.
Vancouver do whatever they wanted. And man, uh, I I can't believe that we went from flying high, like let's get home healthy, to hearts racing, clenched up, like, oh my God, are we gonna blow a 6 goal lead in one period? And Heinz, that's a hard if that had happened and it got damn close. Like
Hmm.
they came within a few inches of tying it multiple times after the Crystal penalty, and we can talk about that later.
Oh yeah.
Um, but man, like you blow a 6 goal lead in a period to make it a 1-1 series going home. I find it hard to believe we would have bounced back from that and won this series. It still would have been
Yeah.
so much hockey after that, but like I don't know how you come back from that.
Well, and that would have given Vancouver
Yeah.
so much life.
I mean,
They got more and
they're
more
already
life
going to
after
fly
every
into
goal.
the arena. But yeah. And I am worried about tomorrow because Vancouver figured something out. Either they figured something out or it was a mixture of us just being lazy, maybe, a little bit of both. And I mean, I would not be shocked if we lose tomorrow because they have the momentum, even though we barely escaped with that win.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see how it goes tomorrow. It's been a few days, and I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall in both the locker room and on the bus ride home.
Yeah.
But thankfully, we have a really experienced head coach who's been there, done that. So hopefully, this can be spun into a positive.
Well, and that's the
Um,
thing is I'm
but
not too worried. I understand why you say you're worried about the game. I'm not too worried about it. And the reason for that is when we've had those kinds of collapses in games this year, I think that it's a testament to our coaching staff who have been there and have that experience. They chew the player's ass and they basically tell them that that's not acceptable, and then they come out the next game and they're, that solid, skilled team that we saw in the second period. That move their feet, not
yeah,
doing the lazy shit. I feel like that every time we've had a game where, and granted, it wasn't, we didn't have a 6 goal lead that we blew, but whenever we have like a late game meltdown or whatever and give up, 3, 4 goals, we always seem to battle back the next game and just come out with a completely different intensity. So I'm really hoping that that is kind of what happens here. All I'm gonna say is
yeah,
thank God Berkeley Catton put the dagger in and with the
Yeah.
empty netter
You and I
because
talked about that today
yeah,
too, because I feel like the
uh
way that whole period was going, it would have been very easy to just sit there and watch one of those three Vancouver players go get that loose puck at center ice with 40 seconds left and give it another chance. But he hounded all three of those guys, and it created a
hmm
turnover that popped onto his stick to let him get the empty netter. But the way the other 19 minutes and 30 seconds of that period had gone, if you played it like that, they might have had another opportunity. It's
yeah,
like he
I
it's like he finally said, you know what, enough.
yeah, exactly. And I'm hoping that he kind of, said his piece in the locker room too. Like, what the hell is that, you guys?
Yeah,
Because I mean, that's just
yeah,
unacceptable. It's unacceptable in the regular season. It's unacceptable, really unacceptable in the playoffs. That
yeah.
doesn't matter if you have a 1 goal lead or a 10 goal lead. You got to play full 60 minutes.
And you've heard me talk about him before because I think he's the best coach in the NHL, and I'm a huge Tampa Bay Lightning fan. But I saw an interview with John Cooper a couple years ago too, where he talked about hockey's all about decisions and choices. They're not the same thing; they're different. And I feel like we made some bad decisions and some bad choices for that whole third period.
Mhm. Without a doubt. I don't have anything positive to say about that third period at
No,
all. Like I don't think
yeah,
there's any positive that came out of that whatsoever. But all things said and done, we got it done. We held on, even though we shouldn't have had to hold on. But we came back home with a 2-0 series lead. Now we got three potential straight home games against these guys. I do expect Vancouver to win at least one of these two games in
yeah,
the either tomorrow or Thursday. So I do expect to see a game five on Saturday, but I'm just really hoping that we can bounce back from that third period. All things said and done.
People are asking, is 6-0 the most dangerous lead in hockey now? I don't know. I don't know.
So
Depends
let's
on.
real quick, let's touch on that Andrew Crystal penalty late in the third period.
Was there
Um,
ever a camera angle that caught it?
I haven't seen
I haven't seen
anything,
it either.
and I
Okay.
haven't seen anybody saying anything to where they saw it either. I'm sure if there was, there would have been a replay shown somewhere by now. But
Yeah.
I hadn't seen anything. So I actually saw it out of the corner of my eye. The camera was just panning away back to neutral ice when it happened. Boiler didn't even know what the hell was going on.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, Mazden Leslie's just down on the ice, just covered his face, and he said Crystal just got sent to the locker room. So I was like, okay, what the hell do you get a misconduct or what? Because Boiler had originally said that he thought the penalty was on Vancouver because they
Yeah.
blew the whistle when Vancouver had the puck.
Yep.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, well, did Crystal get like hurt? Did he get a misconduct? What happened? And then Boyle said there's a 5 minute major one on the board. And his explanation that he heard on the air was that Crystal got the 5 minutes for cross checking. So what had happened, at least from what you could see on the camera angle before it panned away, was Mazda Leslie coming up to try to hit Crystal, had his stick kind of up like this, like he was going to go and like cross check Crystal. So Crystal put his hands and stick up to kind of defend himself, and Leslie pretty much ran his face right into Crystal's stick.
Oh,
Um, you know,
oh,
I, I understand that you're responsible for your stick at all times. I understand that that's a rule. That's something that they, harp on for from a young age. But when it's a reactionary thing like that, when you're trying to defend yourself from being cross-checked, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just really, really questionable in my opinion. And then the WHL yesterday handing out the 1 game suspension to him too. I'm sure that was just because it was a 5 minute major on the play.
yeah.
But I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan of that at all. Especially with how well officiated the first game was. I felt like it was a little bit more questionable with the different set of officials that we had in that second game too.
Was it different refs? I never saw.
Completely different. Yeah.
Hmm. That's
Let's
interesting.
go.
You
Birds
would you
win.
Oh, good. You would think that due to travel that it would have been the same refs, but
I know that's
hmm,
kind of what I thought too, but yeah, no, it was completely different. Actually, I think Campbell was one of the referees. He was there both games, but that was the only one. But yeah, I'm not a fan of that, and I understand they're trying to kind of prevent these sorts of injuries from happening, with stuff around the face and everything too. But I don't know. Almost wonder if, there wasn't a good camera view of it
and
available at all.
and that's why they had to go
And
with
that's
the
why they just
suspension
went with it.
because of the major
yeah.
call.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I almost wonder if that's part of it too. But um, so yeah, Crystal will be sitting out tomorrow night. And then, late in that period too, before the 5 minute major was called, Shea Van Olm took that goalie stick to the face on the follow through from the goalie trying to pass the puck out from behind the net. Obviously, it's not a penalty, it was a follow through. I've seen a lot of people getting kind of butthurt about that who don't
yeah,
understand that rule necessarily. But yeah, I mean, this showed on the replay. You could see he was falling through, and Olmar was just going in on the forecheck and caught the goalie stick right in the schnoz
Hmm.
and went off the ice immediately. Came back out. Actually, that was at the end of the second period.
Yeah.
Because he came back out in the third period and was there. So no full face shield or anything either. So it must not have been as bad as they'd originally kind of or Boiler kind of presumed.
yeah.
But so we'll still have Ulmer. The word that Boyle was saying pregame on Sunday was that Smith Redmond should be back this week too. So we should have, him to fill that spot in the lineup with Crystal being out for this game too. And then another thing I wanted to ask you guys is, we get Crystal back on Thursday and say we do get Redmond back. Who are we sitting?
That's a
That's a really good
man.
question.
I don't know. Um, I guess a question I'm going to ask. I'm going to answer your question with another question. for tomorrow, who slides up to the top line?
Preston, I bet.
Preston?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
kind of my guess. Although
Yeah.
that's my guess of where they're gonna go with it, but I don't necessarily think that they should split up that third line,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
with how they played in that, the first half of that game on Sunday. Preston picking up the hat trick. Chase Harrington, Martin, and Preston have just been clicking really well. I don't know if
Yeah.
you really want to break that lineup at
I,
all.
if it was
Who
me,
was
I'd want to move up either Sarky or Aremba.
yeah, who
I
was the
wouldn't.
winger? Who was the right wing before we traded for Crystal on the top line? My
Um. Oh, it was switching between Sarkinov and Ekstrom, I think.
okay. Huh.
Um, so and Preston too. Preston was up there every once in a while as well. But
Mm,
um, how I would do it personally, I mean, right now with when you have a full healthy lineup, you have Coco Armstrong on the fourth line. I think that guy's got to be at least on the third line, at least.
Yeah.
yeah,
Move
he's our best forechecker.
without a
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah.
If you ask me, I say move Sarkinov up to the top line.
Okay.
Put Armstrong on the second line. And then you have Smith Redmond coming back from injury. Throw him on the fourth line for the first game here. Kind of get him back into the groove of things a little bit, get up to speed with the intensity of the playoffs. So you have him out there with like Cam Parr and Brody Gillespie. I think, and I mean Smith Redmond when he came back from injury, a month and a half ago, that's the line that he played on, and
Yeah.
he had a great showing. He was
Yeah.
great on that line. So I think that that's potentially something you could do too. I wouldn't be shocked to see them put Redmond back up with Oremba and Ekstrom either. So it's gonna be
Yeah.
interesting to see what they end up doing.
You know who probably sits on Thursday?
Hmm.
Gillespie.
I was wondering that too.
Yeah.
See, that's where I'm kind of split. I I almost feel like, and this is just kind of how I think the coach's brain works, even though I don't know shit, but
Neither
I
do
I
we. So,
I could see them sitting par. And here's the thing with that is if you do that, you take away the one guy that's always going to go out there and throw the body every shift and being that physical presence out there that could kind of put some scare into the top lines of
mhm.
Vancouver, because you have their guys taking runs at our top guys all game. Catton
Yeah.
and Crystal have been eating it all series. And Camp Hart is going out there and throwing the body and doing his thing, playing his game. I think if you take that out of the lineup, that gives Vancouver even more leeway to throw those hits on your top guys.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so that's the issue that I would have with that. So I agree. I think that it should be Brody, just because they need that Camp Hart type player in the lineup for the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah.
So that's what I think
And
anyway.
and I think that's to kind of double down on that. I think that's why I'm personally a fan of Sarky on the top line tomorrow because that guy is an absolute unit,
Oh yeah.
and that's a element that our top line normally doesn't have. And he's a unit with skill.
Yeah.
So not only can he strike fear into these guys that keep taking runs at Van Olm and Catton, but he can also make plays.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I think I would be in favor of those two moves, but we'll see. I mean, I trust that Brad Lauer will make the right decision. Um, it does suck that we have to play a little shorthanded tomorrow, but at least we're up 2-0, I guess. So,
Well, and the nice thing
um,
is too is we still have those guys who aren't in the lineup, that are healthy, that can
mhm,
play if need be, and I feel like they would be just fine being thrown in.
Yeah.
Cohen Harris, Ozzie McIntyre is there now too for the rest of the season. I mean, hopefully we don't deal with any like crazy injuries in the playoffs. Knock on
yeah,
wood. But I feel like if we have to throw those guys in, I feel like it wouldn't be that much of an issue. So it's just nice that we actually have a full lineup as opposed to, three and an extra player, like 10 forwards.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, um, so yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. But Back to a little bit more positivity. Mathis Preston named WHL Rookie of the Week as well after that performance on Sunday. So congrats to Preston there. 23 goals, including 4 game winners and 22 assists in his 54 games played this season. So just a really, really special player. I mean,
Yeah.
he's going to be fun to watch in a couple of years too. He's going to be the next 50 goal scorer coming up for us, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, if I was an NHL scout at Sunday's game, sitting in that empty barn, I would have been very excited about what I was seeing and reporting back to my front office about him.
Well, and as of right now, I'm looking up the projections, early projections for the 2026 draft, and he's sitting at number 2 right now
Wow.
overall. So that's pretty cool to see. Be the one of the highest picks in Chiefs history.
Yeah,
Um, did you guys see the WHL named their all-star teams or whatever for this year
I
too?
did.
3 Chiefs on both of those teams, or
Yep.
not both of, but overall.
Yep.
Yes.
Shea Van Olm getting on the second team for the Western Conference, and then top lines for the first team is Crystal and Cat, and both up there with Kyle Chazowski from Portland. So that's pretty cool stuff too. Always love seeing those little stats like that. But
Yep.
um, that's kind of all I have recap wise and all that other news stuff. And you guys got any final thoughts? Anything you want to touch on before we wrap her up?
Uh,
Just let's play a full 60 tomorrow night.
Yeah, no shit.
I've got one last note from the first 2 games. Have we been this bad on faceoffs all season?
No.
Or did they just have
That's
really, or
true.
do they just have really good face-off taking centers?
Well, here, let me pull these back up because I wanted to touch on that and I had actually just completely forgotten about it.
Yeah, because that was just something I just thought about how, and Boyle talked about it. I feel like multiple times throughout both games about like, oh, and the Chiefs lost another face-off. You know how he can be.
Yes.
Right.
So
Right. And that's something that I had noticed too, like during the game, like we were losing a lot of the faceoffs, but you look at the faceoff stats for the game, pretty even. I mean, so
really,
overall during the regular season, we were pretty dominant though. So it's different now than it was, throughout the regular season. Like we be 20 faceoff wins up on the other team. We actually did win the faceoff battle in game one, 41-37, and then the lost it in the second game, but it was just 36-33. So it was even though it doesn't seem like it was.
yeah, that's so strange. It felt super lopsided.
It did. It really did because I felt like I had noticed that a lot.
Hmm.
Um, oh God, I just love seeing that graphic that Seattle just beat them 6-3.
Yes.
I'm so
Yeah.
happy about that,
If they
dude.
only could have won the last game in overtime.
Oh my God, I know. All 3 of those games have just been either close or a Seattle dominant
Yeah.
performance.
Incredible. Um,
Anyway.
Victory Plus is the coolest thing to happen to the WHL in
Oh, that's
forever.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
that's a little random note I had. I I honestly thought it was a joke when they said that, or that there was some sort of string attached to it when they were like, "Oh yeah, completely free streaming." I, it's it's literally just CHL Live, but free,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I asked Elliot the other day if he
and
thought that
it's
it's going to
really
be
well done.
if he thought next year they'll start charging you like for the regular season if it's free now to get your taste of it in the playoffs and the next year they charge for it.
Maybe, but it's I think it's owned by the Dallas Stars,
Right.
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, and I believe you can watch every Dallas Stars game, Texas Rangers game, and Anaheim Ducks game
Mm-hmm.
for free,
For free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which I mean, sweet, but yeah, it does feel like how long will it go before they have to start charging something?
Yeah.
Um, because I mean, obviously they have really good financial backing, but like they're gonna have to eventually have some sort of charge, you would think. But at least for right now, it's great. You can just hop on and watch any game you want, which is pretty cool. And you could even watch if you wanted to, you could watch Texas Rangers baseball
Mm-hmm.
games for whatever reason.
Yeah.
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 Uh, so that's
Well,
pretty cool.
and on top of that, I noticed the other day they have like all those when they did that that feature on Connor Bedard throughout the when he was getting drafted a couple of years ago.
Hmm.
They had like that Road to Nashville or whatever. There was like 6 or 7 episodes. They have all those on there.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of old, not old, but they have like the entire Western Conference Finals from last season on there, full games that you can watch. So it's kind of like a an on-demand network for, not only are you able to watch all the games live for free, but you can go back and watch not only the highlights of those games, but you can watch some past games too, which I think is pretty cool. And I wouldn't be shocked to see them add, some more past things to that too, because
Yeah.
it's it's cool that they have all those options on there. I just think it's really cool, and if potentially in the future be able to go back and watch some old Chiefs games from the I don't know early 2020s or whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
hypothetically, that'd be really cool.
No,
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I would pay for that service.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with it so far. I haven't had any bad things to say about it.
yeah,
Hmm.
coverage is good. Technical issues, not a problem at all.
Yeah,
It's like
I
they
don't
just
mind.
keep getting better, going from New Lion to WHL Live to this. It just keeps improving.
Yeah, it's awesome, and as cheesy as it sounds, it's growing hockey, which is what they wanted to do.
I wonder if
And
this is
it's
part of that thing that Elliot, and I saw a couple of weeks ago too, where I think it was on WHL Talk or something too, where the NHL was meeting with the Canadian Hockey League, talking about future things in terms of not just draft stuff, but how to blend the two together to make the experience better for kids coming up and trying to play, and just all sorts of things from technology to drafting to all sorts of things too. I wonder if this wasn't part of the stuff that they talked about too. It's like, you know what? These kids want to play in the NHL. Let's get them on board with the technology that we have with these teams, like you said, Dallas and Anaheim, and just kind of combine the two, and let's start taking some good things from the NHL and helping these kids out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just brought that up. I'm gonna go look for this post really quick, but I saw somebody posted something the other day in WHL Talk about how they were in Vancouver the other day. Here's what it was. It says, um, the WHL Amazon was filming something at game 1 and 2 in Vancouver this weekend.
hmm,
So it could be a
interesting.
potential, documentary or something about WHL potentially. Obviously, I don't know anything either,
Oh,
but so,
Amazon having to do with Catton getting drafted
man.
by Seattle.
yeah.
Who
No,
knows?
like an Amazon Prime streaming like junior hockey documentary would be so cool.
Yeah, it
That
would.
would be really
Because like
cool.
it would probably like lean into like, no, these kids are getting on buses and going from Vancouver to friggin' Medicine Hat to, like on a bus and then are expected to get off a bus sometimes hours before their game and perform while being fueled by like shitty gas station pizza. That could actually be a really, really cool documentary if it like followed a couple of WHL teams around.
Yeah.
And I think with Back to Victory Plus, I think it's just the WHL, right? Like it's not the O and the Q.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
not
it's
sure.
just it's
Is it
just the
just a dub?
WHL.
Oh, is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, so that's interesting how from a business perspective, how the WHL was able to do that out from under the CHL and not drag the other two leagues along.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Interesting.
kind of odd? I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll see, but it's so far it's getting 10 out of 10s for me.
100%. I have had zero issues with it.
Yeah, because
Works great on my TV.
yeah, normally I would just pay for the Chiefs and that's all I would do. But having this and being able to just jump from game to game has been awesome.
I've watched
Yeah.
So,
all
and
three of the Seattle Everett
hmm
games too. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, it's super cool. I love being able to do that. Um, so one more thing really quick before we wrap it up. I just saw a post. You know how you were talking about that guy for Everett that got injured? Or no, that was Brandon. Brandon was talking to me about that. Um, Landon DuPont got injured tonight for
No,
Everett.
really?
Uh, he was seen in a suit and a sling in the third period in the stands.
Oh, no.
So sucks for
so
him,
they lose
but
Carter
that
Bear and him. Oh
they
man.
just lost Cold Temple in the game tonight too.
Wow.
Hmm.
And apparently, I'm reading that they lost Tyler McKenzie on Saturday. as well. So
Holy shit.
Everett's dropping like flies right now. So that's not good news for the Tips.
No,
Um,
Hmm.
man. I was watching DuPont played great in the first period.
yeah. So obviously don't want to wish injury upon anybody,
No,
but let's go T-Birds. Um,
Bird Gang.
Bird Gang.
Okay.
But yeah, so we got these two games coming up tomorrow and Thursday, boys. I'm feeling pretty good going into it. I know obviously there's a little bit of a sour taste after Sunday, the third period performance, but I think these guys have shown that they're capable of bouncing back from performances like that, and just
Yeah.
you got to really kind of buckle down and not let that shit happen anymore.
No, I expect a good effort tomorrow night. I don't know. I kind of like you. I expect to split in the next two games, but I think we win tomorrow night to go up 3-0.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think you sold me on that. I was initially going to say game prediction wise that we lose tomorrow, win Thursday, and then close out on Saturday. I think you've sold me on win tomorrow, lose Thursday,
Still close out Saturday.
still close out
Yeah,
Saturday.
That's the
yeah,
way I
that's
feel too.
Yeah.
kind of what I'm thinking as well. So, I guess we'll have to wait and see, and just hope that these boys can figure out a way to get it done.
Yep.
Any final thoughts, boys?
Go Chiefs, go.
Yep. Go Chiefs, go.
Perfect. Go Chiefs, go.
Looking forward to my new seats right next to you guys.
All right.
I can't wait.
I'll try not to hold your hand.
uh, please don't. Actually,
Okay.
please
I'll
do.
try
I don't
to
know.
Okay.
hold your hand.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
All right, love you, boys.
Uh,
you.
yep.